The political tectonic plates are shifting beneath ANC Secretary General Ace Magashule's feet. Magashule's legal woes have resulted in the Integrity Commission recommending that Magashule steps aside with immediate effect. ANC spokesperson Mpule Mabe says there's no urgency in the Integrity Commission report as the officials are yet to finalize the stepping aside guidelines.
The Secretary General remains the SG of the ANC and expected to do the work that an SG of the ANC is expected to be doing. The National Executive Committee of the ANC is fully aware of processes that are to be undertaken.
A defiant Ace Magashule has on record said only a special national conference will tell him to step aside and no party leader will do so.
It will never happen whilst we are there. It doesn't matter who you are, how important you are, how educated you are, how rich you are, how poor you are. This ANC is an organization of branches of the ANC. That is why I will respect the voices of branches. If branches say I must step aside, I was elected by branches at conference. I will go back to a special conference and the branches must say to me, Comrade Ace Magashule, step aside. I will then do so because it will be coming from the basic unit of ANC, the branches which voted for us at conference. Nobody can remove us.
The political machinations within the governing party are at full play. The SG Ace Magashule has been slapped with an Integrity Commission recommendation that he must step aside as the engine of the organization. But Magashule in recent times has said he will not be told by any ANC leader to step aside unless a special national conference is convened and the branches of the ANC tell him to step aside. This places the governing party in a conundrum. There are also no guidelines in place to implement the recommendation of the Integrity Commission for the SG to step aside and other members of the organization, yet Zandile Kumete has been retained in KwaZulu-Natal by the Provincial Integrity Commission alongside Michael Mabuyakulu, fueling the opinion that the ANC applies a contradictory approach when it comes to the stepping aside resolution. Samkele Masego, SABC News, Johannesburg.
We continue discussion on this now with political analyst Professor Somadoda Fikeni. Professor Fikeni, very good evening to you. So let's just first start with what was said by the ANC national spokesperson Mpule Mabe earlier on. He says the report was leaked and by people with the intentions of sowing divisions within the party. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I do think that the leaking of the report in a party that is very sensitive and fraught with factional divides is a very unfortunate thing because the party has to defend the integrity of its processes. And the party may not necessarily take decisions based on the leakage and based on what the media says. They will have to go through their processes. And besides, the leakage itself may be weaponized by those who might say this is a conspiracy to pull the cart before the horse. And we know before that Integrity Committee recommendations have not necessarily carried the day when they go to the NEC.
There's also the issue of to what end the national spokesperson again suggesting that the commission chair, the Integrity Commission chair, had actually released the report 2 days before Ace Magashule had appeared before it. Is there an understanding or thinking that the chalice was poisoned way before Magashule actually appeared because of the distrust between the Integrity Commission and some members of the ANC?
In a divided organization, any chalice will always be poisoned. It doesn't matter which way you approach it, because the stakes are very high and anything that happens will be seen in the conspiracy terms. And it is for that reason that the organization should work on its internal discipline, internal processes to make sure that there is one consistency in the application of its disciplinary code, and there is firmness irrespective of who is involved once they take a position. But that in itself is more ideal than real, because a significant number of members of the NEC may actually be looking at Ace Magashule and the charges he's facing, and they might say down the line we might be facing the same. So they may have a common cause and a reason to defend him from stepping aside or stepping down. And if you also read his pronouncements about the branches being the ultimate arbiter, you may then believe that he's preparing for the National General Council of the ANC, which is the midterm conference where you do have branches, you do have regions. And that in itself, I think, might become the ultimate deciding factor in terms of the balance of forces.
I was actually going to take you there, Prof, in just a moment about whether or not that's where the battle will ultimately be fought. But I do also want to focus on the fact that repeatedly the ANC has called upon the public to give it space to deal with internal issues. And yet, pundits have rightly said that we are dealing with issues of national importance when you talk about alleged corruption using state resources. So it is the public's business. The Integrity Commission says Ace Magashule should step down. The ANC saying no. There's also Zandile Gumede, where the Integrity Commission in KwaZulu-Natal has also cleared her. Where does it leave the public trust? Does it grow the deficit?
I do think that it will create a trust deficit and a crisis of confidence in many ways until and unless ANC becomes firm, becomes consistent in terms of fighting against corruption. You correctly point out that ANC internal challenges may not be of concern to the public per se, but where public resources are involved, where capacity of state to govern is concerned, then it becomes the concern of the almost 60 million people of the country, because the ailments and the infightings within the ANC have profound implications for the country itself.
Now, you spoke about the NGC, which will occur mid-next year, but before that, there's a January 8th statement, which the party typically uses to give the public a sense of the purpose that they are going to follow as a party, that they're still in line with the ambitions of the country and the needs of the country. What do you foresee being in that? Given these developments, the NEC will obviously still have to discuss the report, but there's been a huge outcry over somebody like Zandile Gumede, for instance. The fact that this now means she's going back to the legislature. She faces very serious allegations. And the country is in crisis because our purse strings are hamstrung because largely of corruption.
That is the problem. The first one, that you have provincial and even regional or branch disciplinary code, which might come out with different results which are at variance with the general expectations of what the conference of the ANC had agreed on, is a problem. The main problem where issues of political witch hunt come out of the notion that there is inconsistency in the application of this disciplinary code or step-aside situation. And very often it is informed by who has a strong constituency, who has a vocal and intense constituency that can contest anything that is being done or taken against the leader concerned. The second one, in terms of the January 8th statement, ANC is a seasoned organization in terms of managing contradictions. In fact, I would dare say that in South Africa, you do not have a party that has institutionalized ability and internal political engineering processes of managing contradictions without falling apart as ANC has. So they might as well show up in the January 8th and it becomes a big PR exercise. And that public relations exercise will be hiding preparations for the showdown in the National General Council. And that in itself is what we've come to expect of the party itself over time.
Thank you so much for your time and your insights. Professor Somadoda Fikeni speaking about the outcome of the Integrity Commission report that says Ace Magashule should step down. The ANC has now come out to say that is not going to happen and should be allowed time to debate that report. And Zadile Gumede has also been cleared by the Integrity Commission in KwaZulu-Natal on allegations of corruption in the sense that she should step down as a result of those.